From Rixie, this is Frameform, a podcast discussing movies, moving, and everything in between. I'm Hannah Weber.
I'm Jen Ray.
And I'm Claire Schweitzer. And we are three dance film nerds who can't wait to take you on a deep dive into the crazy, complex, and exciting world at the intersection of dance and film.
Over the next few months, we'll be delving into topics, trends, and issues in dance, film, and culture at large.
We will also be sharing conversations with creators in the field, what inspires them, and the challenges they face when making their work.
Always relevant,
fresh each week,
and on demand.
Frameform, the sixth podcast from Rixie, premiering August 12th. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
From Rixie, this is The Daily Rec. I'm Claire Schweitzer. My podcast recommendation for today is Raw Material. I'm a total podcast junkie. I'm one of those people where I wake up and there's already 10 new episodes of different podcasts I'm subscribed to in my feed. And one of my favorite podcasts out there, and one I reliably set time aside to listen to, is 99% Invisible. I actually follow all of their hosts and producers on Twitter and noticed one of them, Avery Trufelman, who also has a fantastic show called Articles of Interest, just raving about this one podcast, Raw Material. I decided to check it out and go down the rabbit hole, and I'm very glad that I did. So Raw Material is actually produced by SF MoMA, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. And I appreciate this podcast in that it's a museum podcast where you don't necessarily need to be in the proximity of the museum in order to appreciate it. Oftentimes you'll see museums release podcasts in order to either promote a new exhibition or to highlight elements in their collection. And sometimes it feels like you're missing out. But here, the podcast really focuses on the artists themselves and what drives these artists to create the work that they make. And something that I really like about it is that each season of the podcast is hosted by a different producer, or as the SF MoMA calls him, podcaster in residence, to explore different topics in modern and contemporary art. Because each season is hosted by a different podcaster in residence, each season sounds completely different. So the first season really focuses around sort of the unknown, like the almost paranormal and otherworldly elements. There's a season that focuses on land art, and there's a season that focuses on, sex, and how that can be a motivator for creating artistic work. And because of that, each season really highlights different ways that the podcast format can be used. So for instance, the first season is actually hosted by an experimental podcast artist and an experimental sound artist. So the episodes are delivered in a way that you really, really don't commonly find in the podcast form. There's literally an episode in that season that depicts, or I guess shows the sound of an ayahuasca ceremony. It's really, really an interesting experience hearing the different ways that these producers interpret the podcast form and how they use it to tell stories. So check out this podcast if you like podcasts about art, artists, and design, like 99% Invisible, or if you like shows that play with the podcast format and soundscapes like Love and Radio. The show is currently on hold, but there are 6 seasons available for listening, as well as a sort of mixtape season of curated episodes from other podcasts. If you want to check out Raw Material, The link is in the show notes. This has been your Daily Rec. See you tomorrow.